Okay, so I want to share from um, Ruth chapter 3. And there's a verse that I want to read, and then I'll get into the message. So this is Ruth 3, verse 10. It says, "And he said, Blessed be thou of the Lord, my daughter, for thou hast showed more kindness in the latter end than at the beginning, inasmuch as thou followest not young men, whether rich or poor, whether poor or rich." So that's the verse, and that's really what stood out to me as I was reading this week. And the Lord was kind of just ministering to me through that verse. And if you're on this journey of trusting God for marriage, and God partnering you with the person that He's ordained for you, um, the Lord is really just wanting you to know that you are blessed. Is this is In this verse, it's Boaz speaking to Ruth, and at this point, Ruth has gone to the threshing floor, and she went to him and lay down at his feet. And he got up and realized she was there, and he had asked her, who are you? And then she answered and shared, like, told him who she was. And that was when he responded and said, Blessed be thou of the Lord, my daughter, for thou hast showed more kindness in the latter end than at the beginning, inasmuch as thou followest not young men, whether poor or rich. So even before I started recording, the Lord also kind of was just confirming that this is a time of giving birth to promises, and just you being made new, and just God doing a new thing in your life. So with the 9 months, it takes 9 months for a pregnancy to come to full term. And I was eating, and and the radio was playing, and the radio host was talking about the rescue, or like the space members being landed, having their landfall, and how they were in space for 9 months. And that mission was originally only supposed to be like a week. So really with that, like, you have been, so basically God kind of um had you carry this promise, gave you the mission to, be a partner to the person He's chosen for you. And you were like eager. You were like, yes, Lord, I'll go. Yes, Lord, I'll obey. Yes, Lord, I submit to you, and I will hold on to this promise. And then you kind of experienced a lot in between the time that you said yes and right now. And so there's been time that has passed. There has been time that has elapsed. And it can get tiring. It can be like really drawn out, and you can feel just discouraged at times. It's not an easy journey. And the Lord knows that, and He wants you to know that He sees you, and He knows everything you're feeling, and He knows everything you're facing. So you kind of went into it not expecting the journey to be as arduous, as tedious, as challenging as it was, but you are on the home stretch. You are you're at the point where you've reached the 9th month, and you are ready to, like, this promise is ready to make landfall. And so I pray that encouraged you. And that's why when it says in verse 10, where it says, thou hast shown more kindness in the latter end than at the beginning. So in the beginning, you were already, trusting God for this marriage promise. You were already believing in God for the spouse that He chose for you. You were already, ready to love them. You were already ready to commit to this marriage, to this union, to this person. So you had already showed kindness to them in the beginning. But this verse is saying you showed more kindness in the latter end than at the beginning, because you have continued to stand. You have continued to walk by faith. You have continued to show kindness to your spouse to be, or your current spouse, even if they, you know, did things that could warrant you to not show them kindness. You chose to forgive. You chose to um, look for the best in them, to see the best in them. You chose to believe the best in them. You chose to pray for them. You chose to stand for them. You chose to intercede for them. And even when circumstances looked like opposite, even when, people might have said opposite, even when you might have even been tempted to, you know, believe opposite, you're still here, you're still standing, and you are about to be rewarded for that. Um, the Lord sees you. He sees how you've been faithful, and He will reward you for your faithfulness. And you will be blessed, and the Lord wants to bless you for your obedience. And so the other part of the verse says, it says, inasmuch as thou followest not young men, whether poor or rich. So Ruth had the opportunity to, you know, glean in the fields of other men. Ruth had the opportunity to talk to other men. Ruth had the opportunity to marry other men. But Ruth chose to stick with Boaz and stay near him and go to the threshing floor to be there, and meet him. So so your spouse is going to recognize, like, you had all these other options. You could have went a completely different direction. You could have chosen someone else. You could have walked away. You could have entertained, other people, but you chose to not follow them. You may have even separated yourself from certain individuals just because you wanted to really make it clear that you are exclusively reserved for your spouse. And your spouse recognizes that, and you are going to be rewarded for that, like as I said. Um and so verse 11 says, and now, my daughter, fear not. I will do to thee all that thou requirest, for all the city of my people doth know that thou art a virtuous woman. So it says fear not. So, like, I know that it's kind of a time where it's a very, like, a lot of God's children are under the pressure, under the warfare, under the fire. And God doesn't want you to be afraid. God wants you to trust Him and know that He will meet all of your needs and He will take care of you. He will come through for you. And God has seen your faithfulness to Him. God has seen the seeds that you've sown in faith. And not only has God seen it, but God is going to, have other people around you recognize it as well. And so you are not forgotten, you are not alone, and you don't have to be afraid, for the Lord is with you. And He will reward you for your faithfulness. He will meet all of your needs, and He will also bring your spouse and meet your needs through them as well. And so that's pretty much it for this message, but I just pray that it encouraged you. Just keep going forward in faith, continue trusting Him. Know that you continuing to show kindness has made a difference, has been noticed. And you choosing not to follow other men, other people, whether poor or rich, because I was mentioned too, um, there might have been people of influence that you could have, connected to or connected with. There might have been other people that may not be as affluent or as wealthy at the moment, but maybe they still had, that down to earth kind personality. whatever, whatever spectrum they are in, or whatever, wherever they come from, you still chose to stand for your spouse and stick by your spouse. And you also chose to stand for the Lord and what He promised and stick by Him through everything. And so you are blessed. And God wants to bless you. God wants to reward you. And He wants people to see that you are of Him, that you are blessed by Him, that you are loved by Him, and that He rewards His children that are faithful. And He wants to bless your marriage. He wants to bless your union. He wants to bless the both of you, and He wants to bless your family. And He wants to use you to be a blessing to those around you. And ultimately, it's all for His glory. So just continue to press forward in faith, continue to believe, continue to trust Him. And your labor in the Lord is not in vain. So God bless you.